All right, everyone. How you doing? Well, I'm gonna read. It's been a while. Read this book called "Follow Me to Hell," based on true stories out west. Hayes actually dealt with Indians since 1841 because President Lamar had decreed aggressive policy against them. But in December of that year, Houston was elected president again, succeeding his successor. In early 1842, he promoted a policy of peace not only because he harbored no hatred for Indians. Earlier in his life, Houston had lived with the Cherokees, but also because of the Republic of Texas was close to being broke. He could not afford ongoing war with the tribes. His efforts were mostly affected, and it seems that the Texas would enjoy unprecedented period of peace. But Mexico had a different idea. The next 3 years saw a series of drama events that allowed Texas Rangers, especially leader John Coffee Hayes, to demonstrate how necessary they were to the young republic. The first of these events became known as Vasquez Insurrection, almost 6 years after he surrendered to San Jacinto, Santa Ana, was still smarting over losing Texas, a territory of Mexico. By January 1842, he was significantly recovered in a political power and manpower in instigate an effort to take Texas back. Almost immediately, rumors began to swirl enough San Antonio that it might be 1836 all over again, although Texas has never won its independence. Those rumors were true. An army of approximately 700 men, including the contingent of Caddo Indians, commanded by General Rafael Vasquez, would soon cross the Rio Grande and march into San Antonio. The city leader conferred the appointment of Jack Hayes, the supervisor, the mounting of the defense. By the first week in March, when General Vasquez arrived, there was few San Antonian citizens to greet him. Excuse me. Most of the population had scattered. Hayes and his 100 or so men, excuse me, his command found themselves in an untenable position of being vastly outnumbered and tasked to defend a virtually abandoned city. Hayes' officer pointed out that nothing would be gained by another Alamo like outcome. He was courageous but not foolish. Hayes listened to orders his men to retreat Guadalupe, go to Guadalupe, the Mexican in San Antonio at their mercy. For the next 2 days, they occupied themselves by plundering the city. Meanwhile, camp at Cibola Creek, Hayes sent out a message asking the reinforcements among those who respond. Juan and a band of Texans of Spanish and Mexican descendants. The native of Mexico was one of the men under siege. Alamo 6 years earlier, but had not perished because he had carried one of William Travis' massive out of the mission and could not return in time. Sequentially, he distinguished himself as an officer in the Texas Army that led the defense of Santa Ana. To him, it looks as if it was time to do that all over again. But General Vasquez was not inclined to linger and risk retaliation. For the sacking of San Antonio, his army, accompanied by wagons growing under the weight of the stolen goods, left the city heading back to Rio Grande. Captain Jack Hayes and his somewhat upgraded special forces followed the Mexican, offering whatever harassment they could. Meanwhile, the Texas Congress wanted to declare war by President Houston would not go along with it, explaining that if the Republic did not have the financial resources to fight the Indians, they certainly could not take an entire country. For the next few months, the Texans could only grind their teeth over their insults. Hayes and his Rangers were occupied with responding to the raids on the settlement by the Indians, especially unpenitent Comanches, in July 1842. President Houston advocated Hayes to think rank of major, but was given an unenviable task to find enough volunteers to guard the entire frontier against border ruffians and Indians. This might have proved too frustrating and missing mission for Hayes, but only a few weeks later, there was a more pressing matter. In September, the Mexicans were back. The previous invasion had proved easy and successful enough that Santa Anna decided to do it again, to add injured to the insult. Maybe this time the Mexican military forces would remain as conquerors. The president dispatched the command by Adrian Wall. General Wall was not a Mexican. He had been born in 1795 near Paris. He enlisted in the army that fought for Napoleon and the defense of that city in 1814. Once Emperor abdicated and went into exile, Wall exiled himself, immigrating to the United States, where he became an officer of the staff of General Winfield Scott. He eventually found his way to Texas and then Mexico, where he lived as a civilian. Then Spain tried to retake Mexico in 1829 to Santa Anna. The Frenchmen took part in the assault on Tampico, and the battle in the Tampico's are after being wounded, he was promoted to colonel. Now, by the summer of 1842, Wool was one of the Santa Anna's most trusted, experienced general, but he proved not to be quite intrepid. As Santa Anna had hopes, but he certainly had the manpower. There were 1,500 men, including cavalry, under his command. This army, more formidable than the last one, crossed the Rio Grande and lumber towards San Antonio. One more charge with the defending the city. Jack Hayes had posted lookouts south of it. But on the night of September 11th, the invaders left the main road and made a march through the hills. At dawn, non-plussed residents, still rubbing their sleep out of their eyes, Wool captured San Antonio, even more outnumbered by the last time. The Rangers managed to escape on Outfox. Hayes was left to send message. Hear your young pleading for reinforcements. Instead of planting the Mexican flag of conquerors, General Wall, like Vasquez, mostly planned to humiliate San Antonio. He made the best of his time by capturing the members of the district court, which happens to be in session, along with a number of other prominent Texans because of the Mexican general cleverness that had not been enough advance warning to empty the city out. While Wool was having his way, from all across the central Texas, small groups of men rode and walked to the relief of San Antonio. A group of men rode or walked to the relief of San Antonio. Hayes' calls were being answered. Soon more than 200 volunteers gathered, every man eager to drive the Mexicans back to the Republic. Juan, by the way, had fled to Mexico after being falsely blamed for aiding Vasquez in incision, and he was now an officer in Wool's army. He would remain in the Mexican military, serving under Santa Anna in the Mexican-American War that began in 1846. Wool's biggest challenge was that there may not have been enough to steal San Antonio after the city sacking only months earlier. Another challenge was keeping in check the Cherokees who were part of the army. They were led by Vincent Cordova, who several years earlier had conspired with the Mexican officials to launch a rebellion against the Texas government. He and his conspirators had been defeated in the battle by the group of militia and rangers led by Edward Burleson and Matthew Old Paint Caldwell. Jack Hayes and his men were buoyed when very same Caldwell galloped into the town. The head of the strong detachment from Gonzales and Guadalupe Valley, the well-known Indian fighter, was immediately elected to the rank of colonel and given his command of the small but expanding Texas Army. Hayes was selected to lead the 42 men mounted detachment. Most of them were already under his command. Well, I'm going to stop there. The next chapter, page 75. So, hey, thank you for all coming. Appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys a little later. Bye now.